Hello, everyone. Welcome to Manny's Irish Pub Sports Betting Show, powered by the Predictive Playbook and presented to you by Sportsmemo TV. We're so glad that you could join us. We're going to start the show off with Jesse Schule, who was on the show with me on this morning with the college basketball, and we're going to revisit some of those three games that we detailed, especially the Texas TCU game. See if there's any changes in what we were thinking, especially what Jesse was thinking about the game. And then look forward to some maybe of our other buddies over there at Wagertalk, as in Mr. Finn and Mr. Veno. I know Mr. Mejia is tied up on another show, so this is how we do it. But we're looking forward to having this show every day, whether it's 15 minutes in length or like today's, which we are going to keep to around 45, between 30 and 45, depending on who comes on the show. But we are very glad that you could take the time to join us. Welcome to the show, Jesse. How was the rest of your day so far?
Going pretty good. I'm pretty excited about some college games tonight.
Can you hear me?
You're coming in loud and clear.
Well, let's see. We are live. Let's see what we got here. Test. Everybody, yeah. I don't know why I can't hear you.
Let's see.
Let me ask the chat room.
I've just muted my mic and turned it on again.
Well, try it again, Jesse.
Yeah, I'm trying to adjust the volume. Can you hear anything now? No.
Well,
I'm not on mute.
I don't think it's me. That is crazy. Let me bring Rob Veno on here, and we'll say, actually, Danielle Allaire says that they can hear you. So go ahead and say whatever you want, and then we'll try to figure this out.
I guess we did talk about that
Now
Texas TCU game. Okay.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Hey, Rob, I figured I'd bring you in now.
Good afternoon, man.
Yeah, it's good to have you on board here. I was having trouble hearing Jesse right when we went live, but now I can hear him just fine. But how's your day? How was your weekend? How did the NFL treat you?
The NFL was good. I mean, the first one was bad. I had Tennessee. They didn't get there. The next three, we won them all. So went 3-1 over the weekend. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of Ryan Tannehill right now, but that prevented our 4-0. Sometimes quarterbacks make a difference, right? But it was a good weekend overall. Last night was a good night in basketball. NBA was good. College was good. So, yeah, running uptick here, John. It's tonight, couple of plays up and available. Wagertalk.com, 4% best bet in the NBA. A couple of colleges in there as well. So we look to see what we can do here this week.
That's good. That is good. I actually I'm on an 0-2 NFL playoff losing streak, but I'm 6-2 in the playoffs. So that tells you who I had.
So which two got you?
The Bucks and the under.
Oh.
Under in the Kansas City, whoever they were playing, the Bills.
Yeah.
Having like 25 points in 3 minutes.
No, and I think that the last time you, I, and Jesse were together, we talked about that game as well. Yeah. No, I had the over in that game. And I had the over in the Rams as well, which it looked like you were going to that the under was going to cash there too, because so many missed opportunities. Cam Akers fumbling the ball on the 1 yard line right before halftime. You got kickers running out there and missing field goals and all kinds of stuff going on. But the Rams did enough wrong to allow Tampa back, and then Matt Stafford went right down the field, right? It's just a couple of all crazy endings to games this weekend, guys.
It was a great advertisement for betting the games at the half instead of full game.
You know what? You're absolutely right, Jesse. There was some money to be made in game this weekend for sure. I'm
guilty of that. I'm trying to, like, maybe as we go forward with these shows, we can ask the people listening in the chat room to give us some ideas. Like, if we give out, say, I'll give the example, the Bucks, 5% on the Bucks. So things aren't going our way the first half, but then I see plus 12.5, and I did more than pizza money on it. So, how do we communicate that effectively so that every single, you really can't get all access. You can't expect them to be on, glued to Twitter, because they could be having their own football parties of their own. They could be at the game. And there's too many scenarios to lay out. Like, if you write it, you'd be, writing even more than Tony Finn writes for his clients.
Right.
So I'm not sure how to do that. I just figured that double digits, Tampa Bay, top to bottom, not going to lose by double digits. And, of course, I could have been wrong. And I meant to look in the database to see if Brady ever lost by double digits to the spread. And I think there's 2 off the top of my head, but I'll look it up for the next show. But it'll be interesting this week. I've been watching the betting lines. We can talk about that now, and then we'll go into college hoops. But just the line movements. It seems like this line was set for both games to be locked in. That they won't come off the 7. They won't come off the 3.5 at this point. I think some places opened at 4.5. Is that right? And then it drifted down to 3.5 now, because the teaser numbers are huge now. And they go down to 2.5, or they go back up to 4.5. I would think that just adds greater risk to the book's overall book for these 2 games, and they're probably more likely to just try as hard as hell to keep them static instead of letting them roam around. At least this early in the week. But I was wondering what you guys thought. Let's start with Rob on that, and then we'll go to Jesse, and then we'll move on to college hoops.
Well, I think, the natural progression the last couple of years for these bookmakers, at least 80% of them, is once they get a favorite to 7.5, they don't go in increments of a half anymore. Those things go right to 9. And it's because of the teaser problem. You can't sit there and allow everybody to make teasers that have a favorite at less than a field goal. So if Kansas City were to push to 7.5, I don't think you see 8.5. I think if they got a ton of money, it would just go right to 9, which is what most everybody does at this point in time. The other way with San Francisco and the Rams, there's probably going to be enough balanced action. Although San Francisco is more popular, I think, amongst the public right now than Los Angeles is. So I think you probably see San Francisco money. You should never sell short any Los Angeles money. That usually comes into Las Vegas in big amounts. Of course, we know there's a bunch of offshore sports books now, too, where people just sit at home on the computer. But the money that does travel usually supports L.A., could support San Francisco as well. I don't see that game moving as much, John. If it's going to move, I think it moves in the direction of the dog. And the other one, like I say, they won't let Kansas City sit there at 8.5. If they have to move it, they'll go right to 9 to avoid any teaser problems.
You think there's any chance it goes to 6.5?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
No.
I think if you like Kansas City, you should at least do 50% pre-flop. And I'm certainly not saying that I like Kansas City. I'm not saying I don't like them. I just haven't run my models. I haven't done the research, and I don't know who I'm taking yet. You
can't be positive. I can't be positive that the syndicate money has shown up already. But it usually shows up first, and it usually creates a pretty good push, whether it be a legitimate line move or a false move. So if it has shown up, then there's no way we're going to see 6.5 again, because there's no public money out there for the Bengals except for people who live in Cincinnati. They just saw their quarterback get sacked 9 times. They're lucky as heck to get out of it. I don't know. You'd have to go back in your database, John. You'd probably come up with a 0 of teams that got sacked 9 times and won a playoff game. It's about impossible to do. But
I can do that while you're talking.
When Ryan Tannehill's on the other side, I guess it's not impossible to do. And Mike Vrabel calling for 2-point conversions in the second quarter. I mean, you have to, again. All right, so I'll go on a quick 30-second rant about that. I mean, what is the benefit, guys, of being up 8-6 in the second quarter? There's no benefit. What are you protecting against? A safety? I have no clue what that guy is thinking. But as that game unfolded, in the end, Tennessee would have had the ball ahead 17-16, and they wouldn't have been throwing passes that got picked off. They would have been running the ball to force Cincy to grind out their timeouts, use clock, and punt it away and force them to go length of the field with no timeouts. And they would have probably won that game 17-16. So I just don't get where this analytics stuff has to rule a way of thinking in the second quarter in a 6-6 game. Just kick the extra point and be ahead 7-6. What in the world are you going for 2 for? I have no idea what the benefit of that is.
It was a knee-jerk reaction due to the penalty. The Bengals took a penalty that moved them up, and I think
right.
So he wasn't intending to go for 2. Then he makes that knee-jerk reaction. Then they don't have a proper play called. They don't have a great play call for that. They're like, oh, well, we got Derrick Henry. We'll just pound it in.
Right.
We're that much closer. And it was clearly an error based on emotional response, I guess.
Yeah, because if you're weighing risk-reward, I get you're closer. You should be able to make 1 yard, but the reward is still only 8-6. And I just don't know what the benefit of 8-6 is as opposed to 7-6. So we know, you got closer and you do have Derrick Henry. You got a really good offensive line. Just risk-reward, weighing that out. And I've seen it so many times out of coaches here this year. I just don't understand what the line of thinking. But in my mind, and I know, probably not in Mike Vrabel's mind, but in my mind, he probably cost his team a game. Now, it doesn't affect me. I laid 3.5 points. But if you play Tennessee money line or had them in a money line parlay somehow, some way, you got to be a little bit perturbed, to say the least, that this clown is going for 2 in early second quarter. I don't know. It worked out.
I was on the Bengals side. I thought it was kind of amusing. I thought, well, that enhances my my bet a little bit.
Certainly. Because then at 6-6, you get yourself into a 3-point game, John, and you have the hook on your side. So you're in great shape when that happens. But Tennessee bettors, especially moneyline bettors, couldn't have been as amused. That being what it was, still came down to the wire. Tennessee probably threw away a season right there. They had a better opportunity, at least in my mind, to match up with the next opponent, Kansas City, than Cincinnati does. In my mind, Cincinnati's path to victory here is a shootout, which I guess Joe Burrow and those receivers could win a shootout. We saw how porous Kansas City's defense is. But Tennessee is probably more complete than Cincinnati is. And on the other side, again, Rams, San Francisco. We just saw this 2 weeks ago, right? Or 3 weeks ago. The Rams got off to a 17-0 lead, final week of the season. San Francisco came back. And LA's had a hard time with the 49ers, boy.
0-6.
That's not a great matchup for them.
And that's a bad memory. And that was pretty recent.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Jesse, of the betting line? You think anything's going to be earth-shattering ahead of the kickoff, or pretty much stay the same?
See improvement on the total in the Chiefs-Bengals game. You look at last week's game and all those points in the final minute, and it goes way over. I would expect the bettors to be dying to bet the over in this game, and I was a little surprised that it didn't sort of open and hang around 54.5, 55. Instead, it opened at 54, and it seems like it's 54 across the board. You're not going to catch me betting the over in that game, but I could see how that would be attractive to a lot of people. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 55 by game time.
Yeah, I agree with that part. I actually, on wagertalk.com/odds, have 51 for the open, with 92% of the tickets so far betting the over. Now,
yeah, and we talked about it last week, John, right?
Yep.
The benefit of not letting that thing reach 55. There's just too many common scores that land on 55. And Jesse, I think, was kind in saying that by game time it'll be 55. I would venture to say that total will be somewhere in the 56 and a half vicinity. There's only 2 games being played. There's just a boatload of money that is walk-up money before the game starts. Those people, right? Those guys don't bet on Tuesday. It's all coming Sunday afternoon or whenever that game is played. So there's a funnel full of money waiting that'll be present before kickoff on over in that game. So if you like it, you have to play now. You have to play now because you're getting yourself the best of the number right now. Because if 55 is on your side, that's a good thing. A 38-17 Kansas City win, a 34-21 anybody win. I don't want to say Kansas City because maybe Cincinnati wins, but you get the idea. You start doing the mathematical combinations in your head, and 55 comes up a ton. So over is to be played right now. Otherwise, you're going to be late to the party, and you may still win with a bad number. I mean, that happens constantly, but you never like to be on the wrong end of the number. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. I was definitely on the wrong end of the under in the Kansas City, but I do remember it going to 54.5, and I thought, as we talked, Rob, that 54.5, if you're going to play the under, that was probably the number to do it at, and you were talking 53, 53.5 as like
right.
There are too many combinations that give you the win by betting over.
Yeah, the day we were on, the three of us, it was at 53.5 as we did the show. And if you wanted to play over, in fact, it had been 55. It got bet down to 53.5, and now they were giving you 54 and 55 back if you liked over. And, you know, in this business, we all know there's key numbers on these games. And with totals, it's the same thing. And you have to know where those numbers are in the 50s and in college football in the 60s. You have to know what's best for you to be betting into. And at that point, 53.5 was a great play over if you were going to make it. Not saying it was a winning play, but I'm saying it was a great play if you liked over. And you don't see that 53.5 here. The other game, John, is interesting, right? Because it's hanging around underneath the key number. 46.5 is what we're seeing, and 47 is the number that becomes key in a lot of results. So, again, somebody who plays a lot of overs, I kind of fish for those 46s, for those 46.5s, because it's the good side of an overplay. So if you think San Francisco and LA are going to put up, you know, a 27-20 type game, 24-23, then you need to be there right now. Although I say that with a little more hesitancy than I do the other game, because under money after watching San Francisco shut down Green Bay could be on the people's minds. So maybe even though the weather conditions are going to be perfect because it's in SoFi Stadium, maybe the late rush isn't all towards over, which generally the public will do. It could be a lot of under money out there, especially if they see this thing. I think you guys can tell me. I'm going to look real quick at our Wagertalk odds screen, but it has dropped from 47 to 46.5, right? So, you know, the people who tail just off of line moves may walk up with under money. But again, if you think that game's an over, you want to bet it now. 45.5 isn't doing you much. If it goes down to 45.5, I mean, the chances of things landing on 46 aren't great. So I wouldn't hesitate.
Yeah, I like it. Well, we'll be talking about this more throughout the remainder of the week for sure. The one game that Jesse and I broke down pretty hard this morning was the Texas Longhorns. And I'm trying to figure out what in the world is wrong with them. You know, they were preseason number 5 on paper. They look tremendous. The bench looks tremendous. But now they've fallen out of the top 25 after being in every single week till this past week. And they find themselves as a 2.5-point road favorite at TCU, which you know, Jesse and I dissected their defense, and there's no holes in it, and they don't play all that slow to be allowing as few points as they do per game. They actually play about 4.5 possessions faster than Texas, who is dead last in the Big 12. So I'm not sure if you looked at this game, Rob, or if it's one of your premium picks. You don't have to say a word, but I guess the question I'll have for Jesse to start this off is, do you see anything different than what we talked about this morning that would take us off TCU?
I don't think so, John. I mean, it's pretty clear to me. Texas has lost 4 or 5 on the road. They're coming off a couple bad performances in a row. They're a favorite on the road at TCU. TCU 7-1 at home. That one loss came to the number 1 ranked team in the country at the time in Baylor. It's expected to be a low-scoring game. It's got a low total. Both these teams are capable of holding opponents to around 50 points. The head-to-head history, I believe the last regular season meeting with Texas winning at TCU, Texas won 62-61. Normally, I don't get excited about getting 2.5 points, but this style of game, that 2.5 points could actually be significant. What I'm saying is, I don't bet on a 2.5 point underdog because I think they're going to lose and cover. Normally, if you're betting on a 2.5 point underdog, you think they're going to win. But, and I'm not saying that I don't think TCU is going to win this game at home. There's a lot of indications that they would, but this game looks like it could be decided by 1 or 2 points, and that 2.5 points could be far more significant than it would normally be.
This is one of those situations where, and I guess I have the opportunity to, kind of share with my model. So I don't use like a black box. There's no wizard behind the curtain telling me what to do. And this is one of those games. And the model is clearly bullish on the over. And Jesse, I was talking about that this morning, that, fundamentally, if Texas is going to get out of this funk where they're shooting 3% less than their season average over their last 10 games during this demise, wouldn't the solution be to play fast and just take as many shots as possible and just try to find some kind of rhythm that is not walking through the mud, so to speak? And I can't pull the trigger on the over because I don't trust Texas's offense as far as I can throw them. And if they score 80 points tonight, then my hat's off to them, and then we'll look at them for the next game. But it's a term that's used too often, and I say that tongue-in-cheek because Steve Merrill loves saying, you never catch a falling knife. Never catch a falling knife. And now we got CNBC saying it about the market crashing the other day. You don't catch a falling knife. I must have heard it. If it was not 20 times, guys, on CNBC during the course of the morning, then I don't have enough silverware in my drawer. Every guest used it, and it was actually getting annoying. I mean, there's other things to say, like, don't bottom pick, but everybody wanted to say, don't catch a falling knife. So I think Texas is that falling knife.
Time in the market is better than timing the market?
I mean, it's hard to time the market if you can't look at the screen because you're getting stitches at the hospital for catching a falling knife. I mean, you can't make any decisions when you're in pain. Guess who's here?
Wrong.
There he is.
Wrong. Texas is overvalued. By the way, I've been listening a little bit. Do you not think that they're what's their best win this season?
Well, give me a second, I'll tell you.
Non-conference win. What's their best non-conference win? Because a win in the Big 12 is a good win.
I have them as the toughest conference right now in the power ratings by conference, for sure.
What's their non-conference best win? You know what I have as a non-conference best win? Because I'm throwing Stanford out. They live in the Pac-12, so they're out. It's Sam Houston State. That's their best win. That's not good enough. You can't prepare for the Big 12.
Sam Houston State.
What's that?
With all due respect to Sam Houston State.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But Texas was number 5 in the nation. I know the polls don't mean anything.
No, they don't. They mean nothing.
But we all thought that they were a lot better than they are right now. And
well, yes. Part of that comes with Chris Beard moving there, and all of a sudden, because of Chris Beard, they're going to be better than they've been the last half decade. It's going to take, like any coach, other than his replacement, it's going to take a few years.
It's the key to the whole thing, Tony. I
agree.
looked to play Texas this morning, but we talk about this in college football all the time, and it's completely overlooked in college basketball. But you can't go from Shaka Smart to Chris Beard with the talent that Shaka Smith recruited Shaka Smart to play his system, now Chris Beard steps in and has all his recruits. And granted, they're great players, but we watched Chris Beard for years at Texas Tech, right? He almost won a national championship playing this style. It's what he does. Go back to his Southland Conference days. It's what he does.
And I just heard 58 you're right. 56. You're right. I just heard
it's not full court press, right? I mean, these kids that were recruited into this system now have to get used to playing a completely different style. I don't care if they're 5-star. I don't care who they are. But they came there to play Shaka Smart 94 feet of havoc basketball. And that's not what you get with Chris Beard. With Chris Beard, you get hard-ass discipline, defense for 25 seconds, and go down and methodically run half-court offense.
Without question. And to what John just said, why don't they play fast? Chris Beard doesn't play fast.
He won't play fast.
No.
End of story.
That's right.
So when you look at this game, it's more about the coaching and the overlooked stuff than it is throwing out the statistics of this team is this and this ATS, this team just did this. This team
I assure you, I promise you, Rob and John and Jesus, Chris Beard would never have made this. If you look at their non-con schedule, Chris Beard would say, listen, bring me the best.
And let's go one step further real quick.
Yeah.
Because Chris Beard only shifts spots in the Big 12. Him and Jamie Dixon, these teams know each other.
Yep.
Or these two coaches know each other inside and out.
Yep.
Jamie Dixon is not that far removed from being Chris Beard. He'll run a little bit more. But Jamie Dixon at Pittsburgh was the same thing.
No,
right?
He's not.
And here at TCU, he's kind of the same thing.
People, Chris Beard or Dixon, his the way he presents himself to the public, to the radio, when you hear him talk, is nothing close to who he is. Let me tell you something. He's a fiery, passionate son of a bitch. And you remember he got in a little bit of trouble. Wasn't it him or was it Beard? Well, I think it was Dixon. They kind of flew off that. Yep, you remember. And that's who Dixon is. And he was a little embarrassed by it because he doesn't let people see that. His players, yes. The people, his family, yes. He's a no-nonsense dude, like Chris Beard. Yes.
So what's going to happen tonight is Jamie Dixon's squad knows every single thing Chris Beard is going to run. Chris Beard knows every single thing Jamie Dixon is going to run.
Right.
And you've got two slow-paced. That's why you have a total of 122. Now, modern-day basketball, you can kind of get over 122 by mistake.
Yep, you can.
But you probably wouldn't catch me going there. I think this total has moved up a little bit because guys just see 120 and think exactly what I just said. You can make 120 by mistake. And there's always a shot of overtime between these two. I had looked early to play Texas and lay the points here. I backed off. I just feel like they need a win, and they'll sell out.
I haven't played them once. I haven't played against them. I haven't played on them because I can't put my arms around that team in any way, shape, or form. Do I know what to expect?
I think with Texas, guys, what you do is you come back middle of third week in February and see how they're playing at that time and see how the adjustment to Chris Beard has gone and if they've picked it up at all. There's not a lot of coaches that play this, I'll call it prehistoric for lack of a better word, but style. Yep. Kids come out of AAU, they don't want to play this type of ball anymore. Now, will he be able to convince these? When he went to Texas Tech was nobody. And he took a group of kids and he molded them into what he wanted, and they played that way. And he recruited to that. But now it's a different situation for him. He's a really good coach. He's an excellent coach. And he's got excellent talent. But I don't know that the two mesh at this point in time. So I'd come back middle of February, third week of February, see where Texas is. If they're still losing games, then they're never going to get it. And this group doesn't want to get it. You're going to find out a lot about the team down the road here. We'll
You
see
know,
if they can mesh.
I don't want to dominate this conversation, but because I feel like I just got here and started dominating. But you reminded me. Everything you've been talking about made me think of a situation tonight. I think UCLA gets far too much credit too. People think all of a sudden, Mick, these are all his guys. They're not all his guys. They're still not all his guys, and he still hasn't been able to. I'm certain to get his arms wrapped around the difference between recruiting to UCLA as it was there on the East Coast and in the Big East and the AT, everything that he did here on the East Coast, it's not these guys. And normally I would say, listen, Chris Beard, Jamie Dixon, Cronin, all those guys, bring an Arizona that has the second fastest pace, plays at the second fastest pace in college basketball. Number 2, I think, is what last time I looked at Ken Palm, they were like number 2 with a 74 or 73 or 74 rating. That I always favor the slow pace. It's just not the case with Cronin. I don't trust UCLA. I do trust Tommy Lloyd and what he's done with this team, though. And they're only given 2, in Westwood tonight. I think if I'm on that game, I'm not. If I was on it, I'd be on Arizona.
Let's give real quick here. Let's give Mick Cronin a half a bit of credit.
Oh, I know, I do. What he's
Yeah.
done with that group? Yeah.
Yeah, because his philosophy isn't the way this team plays, but I guess he looks at it and he's like, I've got Juzang and I've got Hawkins and I've got Tiger at point guard and I've got all these guys. And last year we saw it, right? I mean, they ran with Gonzaga in the Final Four. That game go overtime, maybe double overtime, but that's not Mick Cronin's style to be.
No, is he going to change? Is he going to change? Is he able to adapt and actually change? Because he's a guy that's right there in the same folder, in the same container with a Beard, who wants to be. They want, Texas Tech last night. Did you guys watch any of that game? That KU Texas Tech game? Okay, here's the deal with Texas. Every single second that those guys are on the floor, if you played basketball, and I didn't play in college basketball, but I played at a pretty high level in high school, and those are the teams we hated playing because they made every second on the floor uncomfortable, and it's just hard to adapt to that as the opposition. And I know that's the way Cronin wants to play. It's the way he's always played before he went to UCLA, right?
Yeah, but I'll give him credit for evolving because you can't shove the square peg into the round hole. You can't take these kids that he has and tell them this is the way I play. And he hasn't done that because at home they score a lot of points. They run a little more. On the road, they're a little less. I think he takes that theory defense travels on the road. But at home they go. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go with Arizona tonight because it's athletes on athletes. And Cronin can't – again, you can't take kids like Juzang and these guys and tell them, I'm going to shove you into this, which is what Beard is trying to do with Texas. And I don't know that it's working.
I know this. They're still – UCLA's still in the bottom. Well, I'll tell you what, they're still close to the bottom half, or they're in the middle in pace as far as pace goes. They're nowhere close to Arizona. I think the last time I looked to them, they were like 190th or something like that. So,
but the efficiency out of UCLA is fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic. There's not. Listen, I remember looking at their charts, and there's not a red mark on those charts. I wonder if
they're both good teams. But and let's remember that UCLA was affected by a month of COVID.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
And so
they have 2 losses. They had a horrible loss. Let me tell you, that was a bad loss. Oregon wasn't playing very well, or they would only have probably 1 loss still, and that was to the Zags.
Yeah, and how good is Oregon right now since they made that Southern
California?
Right.
Oh, let me tell you, they've cost me a couple units. That's for certain.
That guy can coach.
Oh, I don't like Dana Altman at all. He always beats me. I don't like him. I don't like.
Sorry, John, we got off on a tangent.
Yeah, we did. Sorry,
I'm
Johnny.
just sitting here thinking, like circling back to Beard, this quick, or as quick as we possibly can. Why is it that a coach doesn't see that the talent is not working on his system, and they can't adapt or even try something new. Like TCU doesn't shoot the ball worth the darn, but they play incredible defense. So wouldn't you want to get on the fast break tonight on every single possible missed shot by TCU and force the, just force the pace of play a little bit? Or am I completely nuts?
Anything, I'll say this, John. I know this. I can name you 5 or 6 teams right now that are playing fast, college teams that are playing fast that shouldn't be. The coach knows if they play them a little faster, they're going to probably be a little more efficient, or they're going to be more explosive. Maybe give them a better chance to win. They can't play fast because they're not. That's not in their DNA. It's that those kids. The thing of playing fast in college is if you don't know how to play fast and don't value possessions, they end up being bipolar as far as performance goes. That's a problem.
Here's what I'll say to you, John, real quick. I think to your point, the kids probably want to do exactly what you're saying. To the point of the head coach, I don't know how long of a deal Chris Beard signed for, but it's got to be multi-year. And he's there to build what he builds. He's not there to take 1 year and say, okay, what I do, we're just not going to do for a year. He walks in and inherits talent that just doesn't fit his system. And I guess he's going to suffer with it his first year. I don't know how many kids, Tony, maybe you know how many kids transferred out of the Texas program when they found out Chris Beard was coming to town.
I think 4 or 5 would hit the portal. And by the way, I know you asked, I tell you what, Chris Beard was one of the few guys I couldn't believe. I could believe it. But he signed for a flat annual salary. A flat, nothing special. A flat 7 1-year deals, $5 million a year.
Yes, so he's there to build something, and the kids that are underclassmen on this roster are what he's concerned with. In my mind, he's going to teach them his system, and next year they're going to be better, and the year after, and he's going to recruit, and then they're going to be better, and then they're going to be better, and then they're going to be way better than Texas Tech because under Chris Beard, because you can recruit better to Texas than you can to Texas Tech. But I don't know. Saying much better is kind of hard. He went to a national championship thing with Texas Tech. I just don't think that he'll break stride for 1 year just to, kind of let these kids that he inherited run. So it's a rough year for Texas, even though on paper, guys, it all adds up. You've got an elite head coach and you've got elite talent. Why aren't you winning? And there's your answer. Because
John and Rob, you guys, and here's the conundrum, and here's the curse that Chris Beard has to deal with. There's only one team that ever looked good in orange, and that was Pat Summitt's team.
You don't remember Tom Penders in Austin with that BMW backwards?
Nobody does it. I don't care what you say. Nobody wore orange and played as good as Pat Summitt's girls, right? And I don't like girls basketball.
I don't think Texas feels they need to panic right now. I mean, if you look at their last loss, they lost to Kansas State by 1 point. They lost on the road at Iowa State, at Oklahoma State. Those are tough games. I can see if I'm in the locker room, I'm not thinking it's time to completely overhaul what we're doing here. I think it's a fine margin, and they need to do a few things better. But I don't think the evidence would suggest to them that they need to completely overhaul what they're doing.
Well, here's the other problem. The other problem they face, you guys, and tell me I'm wrong. Just go ahead and tell me I'm wrong, but Oklahoma and Texas, they just sold out their athletic programs. Just sold out they sold out for money as opposed to being the best of a conference. Because as soon as they join the SEC, they're Nebraska of the Big Ten. Nebraska did the same thing. This team will never ever be what they were as Big 8 or Big 12. The Cornhuskers. Am I wrong about that? Never. I mean, Thanksgiving was a big deal for a long, long time. What did you do on Thanksgiving? You watched Oklahoma, Nebraska play football. At least I did as a kid. In Nebraska under, Osborne. I mean, this is a team that that the Big Eight at one time was the SEC. I think. Remember when Oklahoma, Nebraska, Colorado 1, 2, 3 in the nation to end the season. How does that happen? Yeah,
it won't happen anymore.
Jesse, real quick, your point
Yeah.
about they shouldn't press, and they don't feel like they should press because they're in games. I'll circle all the way back to what I said earlier. Come back and look at this team middle of February, end of February, because when Big 12 conference tournament time comes, if in fact Chris Beard's ways have set in with this team, then Kansas, Baylor, the teams up at the top of this league, they're not going to want to play Texas if Chris Beard's system has set in by that time, because Kansas doesn't want to be in a grinder with a Chris Beard team. They were there with Texas Tech a couple of years ago. Baylor doesn't want to be in a grinder with Texas. Not that they can't win. I'm just saying it's a difficult out in a Big 12 tournament if, in fact, this team just stays the course and becomes better at what Chris Beard is coaching.
You're right. It's easy to win. It's easy to win with the kids. It's easier to win with that system. You can't win. You may not win a national championship, but you're always going to be a winner playing like they play.
I think there's a good chance it happens. I just hope it doesn't happen tonight.
Yeah, John, you may have us all here on February the 25th do the same thing, and we may be talking about how tough Texas is at that point in time.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's just taking time for coach and players to mesh. That's a system and players to mesh.
But they got to get rid of the orange.
Get rid of the orange.
That's good stuff. I mean, this is what makes this show so much fun. I can just sit here as a host and just be like a sponge and just take it all in.
Where's
a sponge?
Where's the tip jar?
But now I saw something on the internet, and I should just stop reading anything on the internet. It's all bad. Okay. There's nothing good anymore on it, right?
You saw that I've traded picks for Quaaludes. Is that what you saw? It's true.
Oh, this is way worse. This is the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame breaking news.
Oh, I saw it.
Oh, no, what happened?
Big Papi is in.
Okay.
So 6 elected by era committees. 2022 Hall of Fame coverage. All right, 6. I mean, I've been trying to figure out for the last week. Era committees are like players, right? From that era.
Yeah.
But they're saying that that's harder than for Bonds and those guys to get in.
Well, it depends on that. It depends on their morals or morals or what they value as far as what they it's ridiculous. If you think Ty Cobb was an angel, right?
Well, Jesse and I were talking about that this morning on the show, or before we went on the show because it was a basketball show. But yeah, I mean,
far from it.
I always come back, and you guys will remember this, and I could make a fool of myself right now and rant. But at the end of the day, my pet peeve is that the mission statement of the Hall of Fame has nothing to do with Major League Baseball. They are two entirely different organizations.
Nothing.
And the Hall of Fame is not supposed to be a puppet to the owners. And I know you love the owners, Tony. What does the mission statement of the Hall of Fame clearly state?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. You understand that group is just about I put them in the same folder as the NCAA powers that are in the NCAA. They're not. They're going to do whatever is going to benefit them, and that's the bottom line. So it's money. It's all about money, and I'm going to quite probably get thrown on the bus 10 times for this statement, but I'm quite certain that people that have been through that hall, half the stuff that's in that hall isn't authentic.
Is what?
It's not authentic. It's switched out.
Well, I mean, I've thought that too, just because of the risk of theft. I mean,
Well, no, I'm talking about that risk of theft. No risk of theft because whoever has the key to those cases and the doors, they've got plenty in somewhere stashed. I'm telling you that whole the players put too much. They put way too much value on being a Hall of Famer.
So, Rob and Jesse, does that mean Finn's telling me that the bloody sock that I saw with my son in Cooperstown is fake?
Maybe.
Well,
I guess that's what he said.
I mean, that could be devastating to the kid's life now that he's 26. Knowing that was a fake bloody sock that I showed him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the deal. We probably won't never know unless something, there's some big reveal. Somebody's doing something or something.
Well, Bud Selig was great at revealing the steroid crisis. We had no clue that was going on when it was guys hitting 550-foot home runs, did we?
No.
Oh, Rob, see, this is like Finn hates the. You don't hate anybody, Finn. You love everybody on the face of the earth. You dislike how the owners conduct themselves.
Oh, it's too late for them.
So, did anybody look on the net that Bonds is officially done now?
No, yeah. Listen, he's a Hall. The Hall of Fame has failed Bonds, failed him miserably,
big time.
Yeah, but I don't know that he cares. I don't think Pete Rose would like to. Pete Rose wants to be a Hall of Famer, but not to be in the Hall of Fame. He knows it'll make him more money.
If I remember, I was talking to Jesse this morning. I don't think Jesse's been to the Hall of Fame yet because he lives in Iceland. But well, actually, it's Vancouver.
What time zone are you in?
But yeah, but I've been there several times, and I can tell you firsthand, Pete Rose is in the Hall of Fame.
He is. Oh, there's no
big
doubt.
Time. He's listed as the hits leader. So, with that said, why can't Bonds be listed with 73 home runs, 600 or 762 career home runs? And what am I missing?
That it's all about Bonds hasn't paid the people in charge enough money to get the votes. That's all there is to it. So call me cynical, but that's what I believe.
And it's not only about Bonds, guys, because Roger Clemens brings the same argument.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Those are guys who were arrogant.
Yeah. Oh,
and the writers don't like arrogance.
Clemens more than anybody. What he did in front of the
committee.
The committee. Oh, brutal.
Congress.
Just
Congress?
Brutal. You talk about about failing. You talk about failing an audition. I mean, Clemens is what it is. He didn't do himself any good.
Let's not even bring up that moment.
As unlikable as you could be.
Almost.
Bonds, Bonds thought that guy was so arrogant that he didn't care who he was miserable to. And he was miserable to everybody. I mean, I even have a small story real quick here. We're going to get way off topic. I am friends with a guy who did pregame for the Oakland A's for a lot of years. And when I lived in Las Vegas, it's a quick flight southwest to Oakland. I used to go up there twice a year. My sons were too young to appreciate it, make the trip. I used to bring my nephew. Up there. The A's are playing the Giants. And along with, this is pre-September 11th, so we're allowed field passes. You roam the whole joint. So my nephew's down on the field while the Giants are warming up. And he's down there with a little pad and pencil or Sharpie or whatever. And Barry Bonds is going into the dugout after shagging a couple of flies. And he asked Barry Bonds for an autograph. And Bonds just kind of looks at him and walks right by him. And Dusty Baker's coming right behind Bonds. And Baker tells my nephew, for $25 he'll sign for you.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what a friggin' asshole.
What?
It's a 12-year-old kid, a 13-year-old kid. It's not like there's a line of 50,000 people waiting for your autograph. It's one kid. He's got the pen right there. $25 he'll sign. So that's the kind of person Barry Bonds was. On that particular day, being down in the runway, the Giants came to the stadium, but Barry Bonds never rode with the team. Barry Bonds comes by himself, doesn't come with the team. So that's the kind of guy he was, and it's the type of arrogance that maybe a lot of people don't see behind the scenes. You got to play the game. If you want to get into the Hall, you got to play the game. And if you screw with these writers, maybe 40 years from now, it'll all be forgotten and he'll get in. But Pete Rose is still waiting.
Yeah, well, guess what? I'm more curious. None of these guys interest me. You know who interests me the most? Not that I care, but I want to see what happens to Alex Rodriguez. People are telling me, don't worry about it. He's got a 42, 44%, first bat. I said, listen, So did Bonds had that percentage almost 40%, et cetera. And look, and if he goes down that road, it
never goes up. Yeah, it never goes up. Right.
What was Bonds last year? Like low 60s, right? Him and Clemens were about the same number, I think.
But there's been other pitchers that are unbearable. There's some that have been political. How about the guy that was on ESPN? Just unbearable, huh?
Schilling.
Yeah, I was trying to lead up to it, but he's just I can't even listen to him for 1 minute without getting kind of sick to my stomach because he's so arrogant and so opinionated. I'm pretty opinionated, but I'm not so opinionated that that I'm going to tell you, you're going to listen to me or you're going to go to hell. And that's who I feel like Schilling is,
And real quick, guys,
I laugh, but it's true.
On the other end of that, Eddie Murray, as a rookie, did an interview with a reporter who wrote the story out of context. And Eddie Murray decided for the next 23 years of his major league career, he was never going to talk to a reporter again. And he did.
That's Eddie Murray's fault.
He wasn't arrogant towards them. He just didn't talk to them. But he got into the Hall of Fame. So I guess if you just don't, the guy did Eddie Murray wrong. When you go back and read the story and see the interview, the guy did Eddie Murray wrong. Yeah. But he just refused to talk for 22, 23 years. And he's in. So, these writers are funny. If you hurt their feelings.
Yeah. You know what? It's hard. Good writers. I mean, the good ones typically have pretty thick skin, and they may not like you, but the good ones are, they're nonpartisans. I mean, they're just not they're not biased to that degree because it affects what people who believe what kind of a writer they are.
Today says it all, guys, because David Ortiz is as likable a player as there was. City of Boston loves him. But guess what? For those of us who watched David Ortiz as a Minnesota Twin and then saw what he grew into in a Boston Red Sox uniform, there's no way on God's green earth that David Ortiz wasn't a steroid user. There's no way. There's no way. No. He's a skinny little kid for Minnesota hitting singles, and he's this massive giant banging 500, 600 home runs for the Red Sox. I mean, he did steroids, but he's in on the first ballot because he's a likable guy.
Yeah.
When you add the human element to this and the humans elect you, that's what you run up against.
How many guys can you say that about, though? I mean, the list of guys that would be potential steroid users that are likable guys or never really got accused is a mile long.
Yeah, Pettit, Piazza. Hey, these guys are in.
Yeah.
I just pulled up the final votes if you guys want to know what they are.
Is he the only one that made it, John?
Well, Ortiz was the only one that actually cleared 75%. The other 6 were from the ERA committees. And Jim Cott was one of those guys. He's 83 years old, and that's a guy that we know. Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing. David Ortiz had 307 votes, 77.9%. Bonds, 260 votes, 66%. Clemens, 257, 65%. Scott Rowland, third baseman for the Phillies, and then I think the Cardinals. Or the Cardinals and then the Phillies. So it was one of those orders. I mean, a nice career, but does his career compare to Clemens and Bonds? And he's got 249 and 63%.
Well, you can't compare him because of the positions, I don't think. But, he surely doesn't compare to Brooks Robinson or Paul Shaw.
No. I mean, that's when I kind of just shake my head and go like, I mean, nothing against Scott Rowland. I loved watching him play.
Right.
Oh, me too. Listen, How about this? The steroid here, the kids now don't know about it. We don't know about it. But, I mean, I think when I think of the steroids, I think about some of the guys that who hit 57 home runs and drove in 142
Gonzalez.
Runs. Unbelievable.
Right? Gonzalez of Arizona.
Listen, that's just not right.
And Brady Anderson.
Yeah, Brady Anderson too. And Brady Anderson did it leading off.
He hit 50 home runs from 90
leading off. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, and guys tell me, yeah, well, he had a good lineup around. He's a leadoff hitter. Damn it.
Well, that's bad management. They should have had him batting second.
Yeah. Luis Gonzalez hit 57 home runs. Come on.
142 RBIs. That's Mickey Mantle stuff.
And who was that? I thought it was Gonzalez did that.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
Luis Gonzalez.
Yeah, I was right.
For Arizona.
Yeah.
Brady Anderson went from 9 to 50 as well.
Yeah.
2 little
Baltimore.
guys that hit 50 plus home runs.
And Brady Anderson was I could take Brady Anderson. I mean, at 62, I can take Brady Anderson because he didn't weigh 150 pounds.
With all due respect, and I won't say the name because Mr. Finn has taught me how to avoid drive-bys on Twitter.
That's right. Yeah.
There was a center fielder that was in Philadelphia and played for another team out of New York City, and I had season tickets. And when that steroid era started, like 92, 93 is my best guess.
I liked him. I liked him a lot.
Yeah.
It was monumentally almost frightening how much larger the man was.
Yeah.
In what, 4 months?
Yeah.
From the last time we saw him? Whew.
Listen, now these guys are they're professional hitters. I mean, that's the deal with pitchers, is that guys like Acuna's not a big guy. He's not a huge guy. I mean, he's pretty strong, but he's not a huge guy. And I'm telling you right now, these guys with the bat speed, it's all about bat speed, and you don't have to be the size of you don't have to be steroids. It's not necessary. If you're technically sound at the plate, these guys doing 100 miles an hour, the ball's going to travel.
I think that's regular baseball fans' biggest problem with Barry Bonds, Tony, is that he didn't need to do it. That guy was going to be a Hall of Famer without it.
Without question. When he was a stick in Pittsburgh with Bonilla,
Bobby Bonilla, he
was a stick, and he still had bat speed, power. I mean, he didn't need to, but it's the carrot. It's just a carrot hanging in front of you. And if that son of a bitch has got a Quaalude inside of it, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, the year that McGuire and Sosa were hitting whatever they were hitting, Barry Bonds was still hitting 47, 48, 50 home runs, but he wasn't getting the same attention that those guys were getting. And all this chicks dig the long ball. You remember the promos, right? When baseball was making a comeback. I think that got to Bonds. I think Bonds just said, you know what? I want this attention.
I agree.
Where's the injection? I mean, where's the cream? Where's the clear? Let's get it.
We know why that that's the demise of that was the worst decision a commissioner of baseball has ever made.
Oh, I can't agree more.
Ever made.
Knowingly.
Yep.
Knowingly made, and he did it for the sake of a nickel.
Coming off the 94 strike.
That's right.
Yep.
So,
and then all of a sudden we get Lily White, Tony. We get Lily White, and we have to punish these guys for making my salary double.
I don't begrudge any of them for doing what they've done. You did what you did.
I agree.
And guess what? We all have that God-given. We can do anything we want to do. Don't tell me I can't do it. Now, I can go down here and rob a bank. I can shoot my neighbor. There's consequences, but we have free will. So I don't begrudge anybody for doing what they did, but don't complain about the consequences either if you did it. So there we go.
Everything moderation excessively.
Absolutely.
You know why? Because Major League Baseball allowed them to do it until they decided they weren't going to allow them to do it anymore. You know,
they do that with everything.
Players, the players were doing it, and they just, sure, go ahead, do it. We're not going to penalize anybody.
We just had this conversation about a year ago.
And then the owners go, "Oh my God, steroids? What is that again?"
What was the stuff McGuire was on, like that Andro?
Listen, it wasn't prohibited at that time.
Right.
Androstenedione.
That is correct.
And when he was asked about it, he said, "It's good for my sex life."
Bull penis.
And I believe that was true, Jesse. That had stuff in it that would do that.
Why do you take that? He said, "It's good for my sex life."
Well, he was swinging a pretty big bat.
3 cheers for that.
Freddie Patek. He swung a 36-inch bat, and he wasn't even 36 inches tall.
Dick Allen.
Yeah.
Dick Allen swung a tree.
Yes, he did.
44 ounces or
A
something.
tree.
But see, and also they didn't have the metrics then. I mean, nobody swings a bat like that now. Why? Because it affects your bat speed. And some of the biggest guys have the smallest bats.
Yeah, with those thin handles.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
you talk about pain.
Yep.
You know how much that hurts? Well, it hurts. It's so
wooden
painful.
bat?
Look at Chase Utley. As a
What?
compact
Here you-
swing, small bat.
Homer. You haven't heard
Opposite
me
field.
You haven't heard me mention Freddie Patek or Paul Shaw yet, have you? Oh, all right.
Save for
You know,
tomorrow.
to that end, guys, there's countless stories about how many home runs Ichiro would hit in batting practice.
Yeah.
And he'd nothing but a rail. But the bat speed and the ability to direct the ball where he wanted it to go. I mean, I never saw his batting practice, but, you know, Seattle broadcasters and whatnot will tell you that he could just launch home run after home run during batting practice.
Hey,
Never
listen.
did it in the game.
Can I say something? I didn't say it when I came on. I should have. I have 1 minute ago. I have a 15-minute segment I have to do, and luckily, well, they haven't called me yet, but they will any second now. Then I would have to just kind of blink out. So,
Well, whenever you want to go, you have to go. But
No,
you
I
can
don't-
give us
I
the
don't
best
wanna-
bet
I
if
don't
you
wanna-
want.
I don't want to be mistaken for Rob, and he just all of a sudden Rob will just disappear somewhere and end up in Columbia, Missouri, which I found a bad decision too. But I don't say anything.
Oh, that new series 4 of Ozark, Finn. I think if you every night put it on.
Accurate, and don't think that's all hot. That is exactly.
Violent people.
Yeah, I'm into
Yeah.
the third episode right now, John. Don't ruin it for me.
You go up in the mountain, go up into some of those hills, the little mountains down there. You got to go farther south in Missouri, down close to Arkansas, but you're not coming out. If they think you're Federal, you're not coming out. They'll never find you. It's like marrying a woman with a backhoe. Who the hell would marry a woman that owned a backhoe? They're never going to find me. So,
Hey, to each his own.
If all their women are like that Darlene and Ruthie in Ozark, then I don't want to be anywhere near that place.
I'm
again,
going
look at me,
to stay where I'm at.
my wife's from there. She's from Ozark.
She drive a backhoe?
Well, no, worse, she can probably lift a backhoe. She's a strong girl.
That's awesome.
If she hits me she's never. I mean, in 27 years, I think she's been mad at me a couple times enough to try to run me over once and swing a shovel, and it hurt. It hurt.
What's your best bet, Finn?
My
you
best
have one.
bet.
If you want to share one with us.
I will. I'm going to share my best bet with you, and you're going to call me. You're not going to call me crazy. I'm shocked that we didn't even talk about this. But let me ask you something. I'm going to read 5 names to you.
It's
Really
only
quick
been an hour.
since I started talking. Let me ask you this question, Rob.
Yes, sir.
Jesus, John. Okay, name who is this? Who is this? Who's Temple play for?
Who does Temple
what?
play for? Garrett Temple?
Yep, Garrett Temple.
He plays for, God, I want to say
Okay,
New
next.
Orleans.
Who does Alexander Walker play for? Next.
New
Who
Orleans.
does Alvarado play for? Jose Alvarado.
Well, we're going to say Nets.
Who does Herbert Jones play for?
New Orleans.
Okay.
Wait, you're going too
That's
fast.
four.
I can't type it in.
Well, no. Who does and I love this name, by the way. Tell me if you don't love this name, but Hernando Gomez. Hernan Gomez. Who does he play for?
He just got traded. He just got traded.
Yep.
Hernan Gomez. It was that 3-way deal. Who the hell
San
did you
Antonio?
end up with him?
He plays for New Orleans.
So does Alexander Walker, though, when you said Nets.
No, he plays for New Orleans too. That's the starting 5 for New Orleans tonight.
Yeah, they're all benched. They're all sitting.
So that's why the
Except
line's
for
going up to
Herbert
minus
Jones.
11.
Herbert Jones,
The
the only
starting
starter.
five. Who's out for New Orleans tonight?
Well,
Down
Zion,
Everybody. Everybody.
Josh Hart,
Yeah.
Allen
Brandon
Shields,
Ingram, he's out.
Brandon Ingram,
Joe
Devontae
Fowl.
Graham.
Zion's still out too, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the starting five. Now, yes, Curry's out. Yeah, Curry's out. Milton's out. But you got Maxey, Corkman,
Yep.
Thibault starting, back in the lineup, Harrison and Embiid. And the number's 11. Who's my best bet?
New Orleans.
Yeah, you guys cut me off?
Put him down. He's got New Orleans.
I can't hear you. What? Damn, is it did my earpiece go bad?
Yeah, it better be the Sixers. Or I'm going to put my hat on.
Can I hear you now? I can't hear you.
Can you hear us now?
Well, the technology is a wonderful thing until Finn gets a hold of it.
Yeah.
He can't
All right,
hear
so
anything.
Sixers
Say
is
what
your
you
I
best
don't
want.
hear
bet.
you guys at all. So do you hear me? Can
Give
you
us
hear
my
me at
best
all?
bet.
Since he can't hear, give him like the Seattle Kraken.
Oh, I got it. Oh.
There you go. It wouldn't be a show if we didn't have golf on.
Oh, shit.
Torrey Pines. Tiger Woods is arguably his favorite course. So Taylor Moore's coming up big here. And the MGM betting odds for top 20 for him will be my best bet.
Okay.
And then Mejia, he was trying to teach me how to say Pereira. To roll the R, and I still can't do it. I practiced in front of the mirror, but it does not work. But I actually like these top 5, including Jaeger. So I think if you play them across the board, we're early in the season. There's no reason to really shoot top 10s here, but I think that lineup might just fit into a FanDuel with Jaeger. You might have to switch out Sam Burns for somebody else, but we have I believe there's 17 golfers in this field that came up. But it's one of the first times, guys, that I've seen a gap of 7-4 from Taylor Moore to the second guy. It's usually only one, but that just shows that is what the models are saying. That young man should do pretty good at the Farmers Insurance at Torrey Pines. And it is hard for me to get a grip around Torrey Pines right now, but that is a tremendous golf course out there in California near Pebble Beach. And by far, that was I would say that was Tiger Woods, other than Augusta. Actually, they had majors at Torrey Pines too, but I think it'd be a toss-up. He played so well at Torrey Pines, and he won this event so many times, and he won the U.S. Open there. So it has to be a favorite venue, but unfortunately, he won't be playing there. But that is my golf, and that's my best bet for the show. Let's go to Jesse Schule.
All right. Well, I'm going back to one of my favorites, and that is fading the Seattle Kraken. They are hosting Nashville.
What? You're
Yes.
betting on the Kraken?
I'm fading them, betting against them.
Okay.
Right. Smoke it.
We will remember that I said on this show on December 1st that the Kraken are overrated and there is absolutely no value in betting on them. All the value is betting against them, and they went 3-13 in their 16 games since. And since then, they've actually won a couple of games. So they've actually won 2 of their last 3, I believe. But they're playing a far better team tonight, and I'm going right back to the well with the price being minus 150 to 160, and it's just it's not a big enough line.
Rob, before you go, I want to just share with the folks a betting angle in hockey that is going to blow your minds. And it'll only take me 1 second to pull it up. And this is actually, combined with my models, this is actually a 4%er that I have on Sportsmemo, and you're definitely going to think I'm on steroids after you hear this. So, it's on the Arizona Coyotes. who last I looked are 377 on the money line. Jesse, do you have any of you guys, do you have the line in front of you?
Which game, John?
Arizona, Pittsburgh Penguins. That goes off in about 3 minutes, probably.
How many? What golf? What course are they playing on tonight?
It's in an ice rink. It's ice hockey. It's the same thing as golf, except they use a bigger stick, and it's on a smaller golf course.
Jesse's got the line.
Plus 310.
Okay, it's come down a little bit. It was 333 this morning, but I'm on the dog here, and I'm on the dog money line. I'm not fooling around with the stupid puck line. Betting on underdogs at plus 270 and higher that are facing favorites that are playing their fourth match in the past 7 days, so they're tired, and have been playing great, winning 15 of the last 20 games. How in the world could they lose to the Arizona Coyotes? Well, anyway, this system has earned a 22-18 record, 55% winners. Last 25 seasons of hockey, 4-4 the last 3 seasons, making the dime better on 8 bets at a profit of $8,000, and you went 4-4. So these I call blackjack systems based on the casino game. So if I played 40 hands in the casino and I won 22 and lost 18, and I didn't hit blackjack, and I was playing $100 a hand, I would come out of the casino with $400. But if I play this system, I come out with it is $32,000 over 25 years. Of course, that's the system. But if I spent 40 hands, so you get the point about the blackjack. A casino is not going to pay you an average of plus 290 every time you beat the dealer. But this system is kind of like that because you're winning 55% of the time, which is basically 50-50, but you're getting rewarded big time. So I'm going out on a limb, and I just wanted to share that with everybody. There are these systems that if you play these for the rest of the season, the odds are in your favor that you're going to come up with some loose change in terms of profitability. This Arizona might get killed 6-0 tonight, but I'm going to play this system every single time it comes up for the rest of the season and for the rest of my life probably. Now we can go to our dearly beloved anchor, Rob Veno, with his pick.
Well, let me go ahead and give you, and I don't do this often. I don't play a lot of NBA props, but there is one in that Lakers-Nets game tonight. While we're talking about, lineups that are somewhat depleted, obviously Kyrie's not involved tonight. And it kind of moves Patty Mills up to being the second scorer on this team behind James Harden. Patty Mills' point total tonight, guys, is 14.5. I think he's gone over that number 5 of the last 6 games. I just saw him score 21 2 games ago. He gets a ton of shots. The Lakers have not been the best defensive team in the world, especially on the perimeter. Patty Mills, a very good 3-point shooter. I just found 14.5 in a game where he and LaMarcus Aldridge are probably your next 2 scorers after James Harden tonight. I thought 14.5 was way too low. There is some variance, only because I shopped this prop. If you'd like to lay a lot less in juice, you can go up to 15.5 and basically pay nothing. Pay like a nickel, 4 cents or a nickel for 15.5. So I wouldn't argue anybody off of that either. But for sake of the show, I'll say Patty Mills over his prop total, point total of 14.5.
I like it. So nobody thinks I'm a nut job for doing the Arizona Coyotes tonight? Or the Coyotes? I don't know how.
Not if it wins $32,000 in 25 years. That's better than bank interest.
Yeah, it doesn't come up very often, but when it does, it's hard to ignore. And it's the ultimate contrarian play. Like if I could find one of those for the NBA angle of the day, I think most of the guys on the show, their head would blow off.
We didn't have one today.
I didn't get around to doing it.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, I'll try to be more consistent.
What about a split bet with the puck line and the money line?
Well, that would be the intelligent way to play it for sure. We should say that, like taking the Coyotes with like probably 75% of your normal bet on the puck line and 25% of the money line. That's the better way to play it.
Make it a little less painful, I think, when,
Yep.
when they lose 6-0.
Yep, and you're still going to come out way ahead because the puck line is what?
It would be probably still plus money if you're only getting a
Yeah,
goal and a half.
I was saying like plus 140 maybe.
Could be, yeah.
Whatever it is, if it's plus money, then it really truly is kind of a no-brainer there.
And I mean, you can get the 2.5s too. I mean, when the line gets out of control, the Coyotes are often plus 2.5.
Yep.
And that's kind of my point with Seattle is what's the separation between the Arizona Coyotes and the Seattle Kraken? What makes the Seattle Kraken that much better? When you look at a lot of the metrics goals against and their special teams, and you look at up and down the lineup, the record, Seattle Kraken are a lot closer to the Arizona Coyotes than they are to the Nashville Predators, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it's like talking to a client today, actually, and wanted to know if the Flyers were a bye because they've lost 12 in a row. And I'd like to watch things bottom out. Like I wouldn't buy Netflix right now with anybody's money. But longer term, you buy it today, 5 years from now, it's probably going to be higher. But why buy it now when it could go down another 100? You just never know where these bottoms are, and it's another similarity with the sports betting markets. These trends get into place, and you just don't want to stand in front of them and try to be a hero and think, "Oh boy, this is the ultimate time to, bet Seattle," as Jesse likes to call it, the Kraken. I don't even know what that is. That's like Nabisco crackers or something?
No, it's the Sea Monster.
It's what?
It's the Sea Monster.
Well, then why didn't the Washington football team use that?
I don't know.
I mean, they're right there in the Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Clam diggers.
Who was it? You, Rob, that came up with the mask? You heard that what the mascot's going to be? It's going to be the Admirals?
Somebody had said that nationally.
Yeah.
I think Boomer Esiason might have said that about 3 weeks ago and then tried to go back on it. So whether he knows something or not, I'm not sure. But it seemed to kind of slip out that maybe that's what it's going to be. So
the story was that if you checked the Washington football team's website,
right.
there was some sort of link between that and a page designed already for the Washington Admirals, I believe.
There you
I
go.
believe it's been taken down.
I mean, the nickname would make sense
Yeah.
because the Annapolis is right there.
Yep.
But we'll see.
We'll just have to wait and try to get some sleep when we start thinking about it. That keeps us awake at night. Well, guys, this is always fun. We're kind of back in business here. I'm going to try to do this daily, even if I run solo for 15 minutes. If you guys are tied up, that's always understandable. But thanks so much for your time. Jesse, Rob, make sure you guys get over to sportsmemo.com and wagertalk.com and check out their subscriptions. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to get some of the best betting advice on the planet. So that'll do it for today, guys. On behalf of Wager Talk, Sports Memo, the Predictive Playbook, and Manny's Irish Pub Sports Betting Show. Remember, always bet with your head and never, never over it. And may all the wins be yours. Thanks for watching, guys.